and welcome to That Squirrel Speaks. Today is Friday, June 22nd, and this episode 223. I am your hostess, Amy Beth, also known as The Fat Squirrel on Ravelry, and The Fat SQRRL on Instagram. I apologize for being a little late recording this week. It's just been a rough one. So, I'm also sitting on the ground. I apologize. Things are different for you today. Sometimes you gotta just take some grounding when you can get it. Sometimes that means literally sitting on the ground, even though it confuses the dogs and they think it is super time to play because mom is on the ground. Mama's on the ground! So if you hear them rustling about a bit, that's because mama's on the ground! And that is very exciting to them. But I am very thankful for them, even if they are a bit disruptive today. Because they have helped to siphon off some of my crazy this week. They have like turned it into cuteness, like amazing plants. They have taken the energy of my insanity and created cuteness and laughter out of it. So I'm very thankful for them this week. And I hope you have somebody in your life that can help you with that. Whether you need it this week or some other week. So, yeah, like, I don't know, there's a huge elephant in the room, and like, I don't know how to talk about it. I'm not a political scientist. I'm not a sociologist. I'm not a studier of human behaviors. If your heart is really raw, I'll give you a timestamp here. You can just skip over this little tiny bit. It'll just be a tiny bit. But if, like, you know, you're watching this 20 years in the future, and you're like, what is she even talking about? It's just been, and it's not to say that all the other times have not been emotional for the last forevers, but boy, it has been a really rough week. And I feel like, I think we're just all tired. We're all just tired. And it just feels like, I don't know if it's just, I mean, I know it's not just me. Like, I know it's definitely not. And like and I am in no way looking for empathy because there are so many people who need it so much more than I do. So, and in no way am I looking for empathy at all. But if you're having a week, we're together, sister. So, like, that's all, you know, that's, it's like raising a kid and like nobody tells you, like, if you didn't have the most, like, nobody does, but you know what I mean? Like, when you have unresolved issues from your own youth and then you have a child and then she's in those places and like that just becomes intense. And then like the world at large, it just feels like it feels like the mystery of the broken bones, right? Like pre-understanding of scurvy and vitamin C, like people would go out to sea and like all of a sudden, like not only would their new wounds not heal, but old wounds would either open back up or previously broken bones that had mended like years and years ago suddenly become rebroken. And it's this mystery and nobody understands what it is. And that's just what it feels like, right? Like, I mean, I never thought we were totally healed. But I thought that broken rib from 10 years ago was going to get us through. And then suddenly it's broken again. Because it never really wasn't. But, so it just feels like that. It feels like we've like this intense scurvy on an emotional level as a nation. And it's, again, it's not just, I mean, it's, but that's what it feels like. And it just feels like it's so much more intense because it's like we have scurvy in an orange grove, right? Like there's so much abundance and so much beauty and so much ability to have grace and we're just surrounded by it. and just oblivious because this broken bone is so encompassing our vision and we can't take in the nutrients we need to heal it, even though they're all right there. Because we just don't know. We just don't see it. We don't know what it is. And it's so frustrating. Anyway. Ugh. So, if you need an orange in your Christmas stocking, I'm there with you. Anyway, that was not intentional. But, again, so I don't want anybody to think that I'm not a part of our larger group in society and that I don't react to these things and I'm not living in the same world you're in. But I also understand that there is real need for escape from that world sometimes. And it's not a matter of like escaping forever. It's just sometimes you need a minute. So I want to give you that minute, or at least, you know, try to help you find a minute. So yeah, I guess that's it. So where have your minutes been this week? Where are you finding peace? I can't lie. I've been finding peace and escape to the country. Is that what it's called? Escape to the country? Now suddenly I can't remember. Have you watched this? It's on, is it on Amazon Prime or is it just on Amazon Prime BritBox? I'm not even gonna lie to you. I have the $5 a month Amazon Prime BritBox subscription. That's who I am, man. So watching some like really simple people, like just simple, no plot, no interpersonal drama, just some people looking at some houses in the British countryside. There's not even like a real, like sometimes I can't watch those American shows where it's like, he's 27 and writes memes for a living and she's 35 and is a professional Pinterester. They have a $700,000 budget. It's not like that, like where you get like a little bit like, what? Because it's just like you know, like there's a difference of conversion. Like it's like easier to separate myself from any of the reality of it. Yet it's very pleasant to look at. And then occasionally they're like, oh yes, let's go visit the Ryland sheep and talk about Ryland sheep and how Queen Victoria, I think, right, only would wear stockings made from their wool because it was so soft and bouncy and wonderful. And like, I don't have any Ryland wool, do you? I gotta find some. Actually, I totally looked on Etsy. There's like 3 things. Oh my gosh, on Etsy! I want to get into that. It's part of my larger scurvy issue. Corporate greed! Just freaking stop. Anyway. What were we talking about again? Oh, that's escape. Sorry. So that's been an escape. What else? Oh, pure goodness escape. Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, the new ones. There's a season 2 now. Thanks, Netflix. I would say that I've been listening to Jess Baker's Landwith, who's a militant baker, who, if you don't follow her on Instagram, you really need to. She's a joy. So I would say that that's been an escape, but it's really not been an escape, but it has still nonetheless been a lovely experience thus far. So I'm doing it in parcels because sometimes my heart can't handle it. But if you've never, if you don't know anything about her audiobook, I highly recommend. I mean, I haven't read the actual physical book, but the memoir is wonderful. I mean, the audiobook is wonderful. It's in her voice. And she just feels, she has such a humanity about her, like just such an, I mean, it's not like a great piece of literature, but it is like having a friend nearby. And really, that's what I need right now. Tolstoy schmolstoy. Give me some Militant Baker, some memoirs read by the author. Because if I have to have anything that's even slightly real, I need it to be really real. I do you know what I mean? Like, I need it to be stripped down and truth at its core real. Because I can't afford any more emotions. Where they're not really duly warranted. Okay, so those have been my escapes. Of course, knitting. I'll talk about that in a little bit. What else? Oh my gosh. What other escapes have we had? Oh my gosh, the boards. From the boards. We used to do that, remember? From the boards. So last time I talked a little bit about, that cursed National Geographic Planet plastic issue. Talk about old wounds coming to the surface. So I was talking a little bit about looking for alternatives to like sandwich bags, and again, I feel like I've always been very mindful of packaging. Not that we don't purchase it, but I do try to minimize it. We do cook mostly from home, and we don't use a lot of prepackaged stuff. But like, I'm a human and stuff, right? So we were talking a little bit about that, so I wanted to share some more comments from the boards. First off, I wanted to mention that Ninja Chickens did an episode about her family and their experience with changing over. So I will try to put a link to that in the show notes. But if it's in YouTube, it's very weird to do links there. So Ninja Chickens, she's a darling. I enjoy her immensely. Not only do I enjoy her Instagram feed, her super awesome naturally dyed fibers, but I also just enjoy her person, which is super cute and great. Has very good energy. So check her out. And then, I just also wanted to say I'm going to do some beeswax experiments, and I hope is to do that next week and actually have a small extra episode for you, showing you not only how I'm making our bags, but also to try to, I'm hoping I can get the beeswax going by then, the beeswax wraps. So there's different kinds of beeswax wraps you can do. You can do just straight beeswax, and there's different methods you can use within that. So you can either dip your fabric, or you can iron your fabric with grated beeswax on it, or you can actually dip your fabric and then blot the excess via iron. And by the way, obviously with like parchment paper or some sort of other thing that's going on, don't put beeswax on your iron. You'll be sad forever. So there's those, and there's another option that you do with pine resin, which adds like a stickiness to it. And so I'm going to try to do both of those and compare contrast, even though other people have done it. But sometimes you just need somebody that's like, oh, I know her face. I'm going with her. You know what I mean? Like, trust your friend's recommendation over the random Amazon reviewer. Right? Totally. So I'm going to do that. Let's hoping that happens this week. And then, Kathleen had a good suggestion of using, she specifically said that she uses like cereal, the plastic bag that's inside the cereal box that holds the cereal. So obviously that's food safe. And she just zigzags that into, now I can't remember what she did. In my head, what she did was just zigzag it onto a piece of fabric and then make a bag out of that. But she may have also just used that as like as a liner, like making a lined bag and use that as line. But either way, that's an awesome option, because not only do you get to reuse that, but then you also have a functional thing in the end. Hooray, you, Kathleen. And I imagine that would work with anything. Any food bags, like crackers and things like that. Cheez-Its. I'm thinking of Cheez-Its because I really want Cheez-Its. Why are Cheez-Its like full on cocaine? I don't know what they're putting in them, but I can't even have them in the house. Anyway. Oh, and then somebody else talked about PUL fabric, which is like the fabric that you can make, like if you're doing cloth diapering, a lot of people make like an exterior booty cover with that fabric. I don't know that fabric is food safe. Do you know? I feel like when I looked at it, I didn't find one way or the other, but I was suspicious. So anyway, that's something else. Okay. Oh, and then Andrea actually put out a question wondering if this move towards trying to be doing reusable plastics or reusable plastic bags and things of that nature, I'm assuming that extends to like food wax wraps and stuff like that, is in fact sort of dangerous. And she's do you hear the dogs? They're literally under their chairs. Not their chairs, our chairs. Hey, hey. they're literally under their chairs barking at the UPS man who's just literally driving by. So A, the UPS man is not stopping. B, they're not even committed enough to wiggle their way out from underneath the chairs. Now, granted, it is kind of a Herculean effort because they're a little tubby. They're not really. But there's like low chair. Like there's just not a lot of room. So they have to kind of like flatten themselves out to like get under there. It's pretty cute. And so they're not really committed to barking. They're just going to bark from their stations. Anyway, okay, so Andrew was like, I feel like this is maybe like regressive. Like, why are we taking this? Why are we going backwards in this food reuse thing, or this plastic reuse thing? And like, what about developing nations where they have so many foodborne illnesses that children's growth is stunted and they have deaths associated? And with, I mean, I hear you. However, there's different points. One point is, like, we've had Tupperware for like 30 years, y'all. Right? At least. Everybody seems to be fine. And I don't think Tupperware is any safer than anything I've used. Because quite frankly, was Tupperware ever BPA free? I doubt it. And then the second thing I would say is that in all likelihood, I think those illnesses are primarily from water issues and food storage issues. So I don't think they're really necessarily from reusable plastics. Now, I mean, they may be a contributing factor because, of course, there are lots of things that that we kind of that I shouldn't say we that I take for granted about like food safety knowledge that is not always known everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Because again, like a lot of food safety comes from washing a lot. Like washing hands, having, maintaining a dirty hand and a clean hand. So you can touch things with the clean hand, but only dirty things with the dirty hand. And it requires a lot of running water, right? And so when you don't have access to running water and you have to carry your water everywhere, then that becomes a different set of priorities. So I would not say that it's the plastic. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am. So moving on. So thanks for writing in. Thanks for contributing on the boards via Ravelry and the YouTubes. Okay. It's appreciated. Okay, so what else? Oh my gosh, what else have I been distracted by? Not in a good way. My tiny dog. Olive, the black one, the cute, floofy. I feel like the reason that she's so... She has like a chemical energy about her. Again, clearly she's siphoning off my insanity and making cuteness out of it. But maybe she could be a little bit more efficient. Just saying. Or maybe she needs to be less efficient so she siphons off more of my crazy but makes less cute because maybe she's maxed out her cute and that's the problem. That's totally probably what it is. But anyway, so she also has a very woolly coat, which makes me feel like that's maybe one of the reasons I'm so insanely about her. Like she's sheepy. She's got me. But anyway, this week, on Tuesday, I took her to the vet because she's been having such bad allergies. This dog is so broken. Annie, who is our other dog, is like a tank. She's invincible. I shouldn't say that, but kind of close. Olive has gotten such bad allergies that the Monday night she freaked me out. I don't know if she had an asthma, like something like an asthma attack. But she was upstairs and she just would not, you know how they just won't settle, and then she just kept, she'd lay down and get up, and she'd lay down and she'd get up, and she was heaving a lot and breathing really weird. She wasn't like wheezing, like her breath wasn't making sound, like vibrational sounds, but her little chest just looked like it was just, and she just again would not settle and would not settle. And so I was just watching her like a hawk, because I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Finally, she said, right before it was time to go to bed, she settled down. And I was like, Tova, if any, wake me up instantly if anything is awry. But she seemed to be okay. So the next day I took her to the vet. because I was, of course, I'm like, it's either allergies or it's heartworm. She's been on heartworm preventative forever. But Google. So I totally broke out in hives. I'm not even kidding you. And my hives have continued, by the way, since then. Totally broke out in hives, worried about this dog. Get her to the vet. He's like, no, he's very kind. And he's like, no, I am 99.9% sure it is just allergies. He's like, we've had a bunch of other dogs in with really bad allergies. Maybe it's maybe it's like our weird weather we've had or whatever. So we give their allergy medicine and we do the thing. And then the next day, Toba's going to go to a friend's house and they're going to go swimming. They're going to go to a pool. So I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I'll take Tova to her friend's house. I'll take the dogs with me. And then on the way home, we'll stop at the park and we'll take a walk. It's only like a mile and a half, probably. It's like, that'll be just a nice little thing, it'll give me a little boost for the rest of my day. So the dog goes, we get exactly half. Get exactly halfway around. And Olive's trick knee goes out. Olive totally has a trick knee. Did I mention she's broken? It's actually not uncommon in small breed dogs. Their knee, it's too, like where your kneecap or your lies is too shallow. So it often wants to pop out. And so normally they just kind of have to get over it. Well, they always just have to get over it. But normally it just takes a few steps and then, but I don't know if it was just because she was tired, because of course in my head it was going to be the same temperature while we were walking as it was when we left, and it wasn't. It was much hotter. So while the temperature was only like 85, which seems totally reasonable, the heat index was over 90, so it was a little warm. But that's not what. But anyway, so we get halfway through the walk and her little trick knee gives out. And she can't get it back in. And it's insanely pitiful. So I try to just stop and like, okay, just give her a second. Anyway, we'll go back. So then I'm going to carry her. So I'm carrying her and walking Annie. And Annie, of course, as the tank, is like onward Christian soldiers. And is just like ready to zoom off into the wild blue yonder. So I'm having to kind of like, she's not like bolting, but I still have to be mindful of her and then hold Olive, who really is only 18 pounds, but maybe I'm already carrying like 200 pounds more than some of you. So maybe that 18 extra pounds is just a little too much, especially when it is in fact a billion degrees. So I'm like carrying little Olive and Annie as well. So I constantly just switch arms because so I'm like, and so every once in a while I'll put her down to see like, no, she's still not okay. At one point I thought maybe I should just put them, like attach them here to this tree and then I can run to the car and come back and get them. And I was like, no, they'll like, Annie will like chew Olive's leg off to get to me. So I must have looked like the hottest mess on earth. Carrying my tiny broken dog, and Annie's just all like, so finally we get to the car and get them home. Olive is so pitiful. It's just like breaking my heart. And so, you have that fear of like, okay, do we go to the vet? We were literally just there yesterday. Do we go to the vet? I know that this is fine. You look up 75 things on the internet about whatever the thing is, patellar blubbity blub. So you look up 1,000 different things on the internet about what to do and if it's okay, should you go to the vet? And she's so pitiful. I mean, just pitiful. Just so wonky. And she finally goes and hides, which is just killing me. At the same time, I really felt like in my heart, like not in my heart, in my logical mind, because my heart was like, oh my gosh. In my logical mind, I was like, she just needs to relax. She's probably having a spasm of some muscle or another, and it's tightening everything up, and so she just can't relax to get her knee to pop back in. So there was day drinking. Not so much that I could not drive to the vet if I needed to, but there was a little day drinking. And all was fine. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The hives. And so then Father's Day weekend, continuing, no, the hive, it really didn't make a break out in hives at the Father's Day weekend. But we, for some reason, decided, my husband, it was very important to him. I did not understand the importance, but it was very important to him. We have this like 3-foot by 24-foot space on one side of our garage that previously we had not fenced off. We could just put in like, there's no way I can draw this picture for you. If I'm the garage, like there was we just put a fence here, like at one end of the garage, and left the other part unfenced because we did. Like the neighbor needed access to get their trash cans out or something. I don't know. There was a story. I gotta be honest. I may have not listened well. But the house has now been abandoned for about a year. And there's talk that it's being redeveloped and whatever. So it was very important to my husband that we reclaim that completely useless strip of land. I mean, I'm sure it's very important. So it's very important to him that we reclaim that, and that the way we do that is by fencing it off. Continuing the fence that we are, like a 6-foot privacy fence, dog ear wood fence. Super simple. So for some reason we bought the fencing stuff like 3 weeks ago, but just didn't get around to, I didn't get around to motivating everybody to get it done. So for some reason I felt like last weekend was definitely the weekend to do it. Even though it was the first weekend we had heat indexes over 100 degrees. But in my mind, it was only going to get worse, right? Which really it was, because this weekend it's raining, whatever. So, that was what we did last weekend. We installed basically 27 feet of flippin' privacy fence. Which really wasn't that bad. Really, we actually got it done in we worked on it 2.5 hours one day and just 2 hours the next, I think. So, really, we did really well, I think. For us, for him knowing what he was doing and two of us not having any idea but being willing. So our daughter was totally helping. She's hilarious because she has the attention span of me, but a lot more energy. So she was flitting around everywhere as we were digging post holes and stuff. Ugh. Okay, let's not say we were digging post holes. I started the hole with a real shovel, and then he went in with post hole digger because I'm pretty tough, but I don't have the upper body. If I could work that thing with my legs, that'd be fine, but I don't have the upper body strength. Really though. On Sunday, after we had done that, we'd done other stuff, and then we had rested for a while, and then what did we do? Oh, I was supposed to hold something up for Tova. She wanted to put a picture up on her wall. And I was literally I can't. I had to just use my body to push it against the wall. Because I was spaghetti arms. It was intense, yo. But we did it. And it was actually really fun. It really was. We always have a lot more fun when we do stuff together, even when it's stupid stuff like installing fences. Sorry, I had to hydrate. Those tears earlier really took something out of me. But we had a good time, even though it was pretty... And the nice thing about it was we were done each day before 11. And then I just felt totally justified in doing nothing for the rest of the day. It's whatever. We installed a fence. We're done. Accomplishment for the weekend is over. I had in my head that I was going to sew something, but when it came down to it, again, noodle arms. I didn't even think I could cut it out. And so I was totally okay with having non-productive time, which is not usually what I'm okay with. Oh my goodness. Also, on a totally superficial and vain point, I don't know about this hair. I started using, I started trying out some shampoo bars instead of like Pantene in a plastic bottle. Whatever, I like my Pantene in a plastic bottle. I don't know about this shampoo bar business. Our water is so hard. I don't know if it's that. I specifically tried out a shampoo bar that's for hard water. Our water is really hard. But, so I can't decide. It has definitely I definitely have some sort of coating on my hair. But I kind of like it a little bit because it's like, ooh, look at all this volume. I have very fine hair. I mean, I have a lot of hair, but the texture of my hair is like super fine and limp. So I'm like, ooh, look, I've got like peach hair. Ooh. Yeah. I don't know, I can't decide. I might decide like after the 4th washing when it's like literally each strand of hair is this big around. Because that's how much. I'm like Rosanna Dana hair. Because there's that much gunk on my hair. I can't tell. Let's talk about some knitting and spinning, y'all. Oh my gosh. Oh, shop news. If you did a pre-order, thank you so much. Really though, thank you guys. It's so deeply appreciated. And I'm so grateful that I am able to be independent of places like Etsy and things where you're never sure what your fees are going to be. So I am deeply, deeply appreciative of your customer support. That wasn't the right phrase. I'm very deeply appreciative of your customermanship. Thanks. The next update will probably be the first Friday of August. So between SSK and all that good stuff. Oh, that's not true. The next update will actually be the favorites update, August 1st. Like library card bags. And also the small ones. If you wanted a sock size bag, I'll do more of those as well. But that'll be August 1st. And then the actual first update with like non-library Granny Square bags will be the first Friday of August. And they'll have all of the good stuff I brought to the SSK. I'll bring it back to you. So, okay. Did you just see me checking out my trucker tan? I don't know if you can tell from there. It just looks like shadow. I definitely don't have one arm 10 shades darker than the other. I'm a gradient gone bad. It's true. Okay, so let's talk about knitting and spinning. I finished the spinning. What? Right? This is Prose, and it's by Hipstrings, which you can find at hipstrings.com. And they are lovely human beings. And it's 62.5%. I love that there's a 0.5%. I'm not going to lie to you. It's 62.5% Polworth, 25% Tussa, and 12.5% flax. And I did 8 ounces of it, and mine is, what did I do? About 620 yards. So mine is like a DK sport. Probably DK, mostly. It is so cute. I also feel like this could be like the precious metals colorway, because doesn't it really feel like it's all like you've got your rose golds and your golds and your pewters and your silvers. Isn't it nice? Like, I'm not the best spinner, y'all. I've been spinning for like 6 years. I'm not the best. But I enjoy doing it. So there. And I mostly enjoy knitting with the yarn I make, so that's a good thing too. I really enjoyed spinning this. It was very pleasant to spin. What else do I want to say? I wasn't afraid, but I thought the flax would make it feel very crunchy, and it's not at all noticeable. I mean, it really doesn't have... There's a few places where you can see a fiber coming off that seems like, oh yes, that's a flax fiber. Just because of the way you're never gonna see that in the way I'm trying. It's dumb. So like every once in a while you can see like a flax fiber that didn't get completely incorporated into my spin. But I mean, like they're almost translucent. They're shimmery. So in my head it was going to feel much crunchier, like, because, a lot of linen yarns, although they soften so much when you wash them, they really are just that texture, I guess, for the mill spinning. So they do soften up once you wash them. So I guess that's the difference, is that because this was just fiber and not spun yarn, it didn't have to have that harder texture to go through the mill, but I totally dig it. Right. So I highly recommend her fiber. She also does a lot of fun blends that I don't see other places, so check her out. So yeah, I really enjoy these colors, and this was beautiful in the braid too. It was nice just use by to look at it, not even worry about spinning it. It's just pretty to look at. There's that. I've not been spinning a lot lately. I don't know, maybe it's the fence and the stress and the life and things. But like when I'm done working for the day, I just feel like my back needs to be more supported than it is in the way I spin. I usually spin at a kitchen chair, just because I like to have my arms, because I mostly do like a backward draw. And so it's helpful for me to not be in like a living room chair where you have support behind your arm, because then my arm just constantly runs into it. So I've not been spinning a lot lately just because my back hasn't felt really great. Not that it felt bad, it just felt like it was tired at the end of the day. But let's talk about knitting. Okay. I finished some socks. And they're pretty amazing. They don't look it on these blockers because I got really big feet. But they're super awesome. You totally missed it. Like, I recorded like the first 5 seconds of the podcast, and then my husband called and the phone was in the other room. And then as I was getting up, I knocked over my glass of water, and like everything fell apart. So it's no wonder that I just hit the cup. What's that thing called? Tripod. So these are my Afterthought heel socks. So I just used the pattern by Linneman. And this yarn, of course, is from Knit Spin Farm. It's her Targhee fingering, which I highly recommend. She also has a Targhee Sport. So this one is 90% superwash Targhee, 10% nylon, 466 yards. And lots of times I stray away from the merino nylon that is that longer length. Like, what's it, like 462 or something. Sometimes I stray away from that merino nylon because it's just a tiny bit finer, and it's hard for me to get a good gauge without going down to a ridiculously small needle. But I don't find that way with the Targhee fingering. The grist is different enough that it has more body to it. So I highly recommend it, even if you're normally hesitant to buy a sock yarn that's a 460 yards versus like a 400 yard. But this is her You're So Rad-ish colorway, with thin stripes of black Spanish, Zlata, Easter egg, thick stripes of cherry belle, and French breakfast radishes. Right. How cute are they? So these are the first socks I've knit for me in quite some time, and I love them. So last time I checked, she had some yarn in her shop. You should go check it out. Okay. I highly recommend it. Okay, next. Works in progress. So if I can't make the sandwich wrap thing happen next week, then this might be the alternative video for the extra video in July. I have gotten my, suddenly I can't remember the name of it, Ishnana. So I'm making the Ishnana cardigan by Ysolda Teague, but I have decided to steek it rather than knit it in flat, or knit it without it being steeked. So you can see here, I not only have a steek to cut open the cardigan front, but I also have steeks for the sleeves. And I have random hairs all over it. So Yeah. I haven't put my shoulder seams together yet, but sometimes I prefer to cut the steek first. It's just a little bit less stressful as you get up here. You can also see that also, what's this weird kangaroo pocket? That's for the neckline. So when you bind off for the neckline, then you bind up the stitches and then immediately cast on your steek number. So in my case, it was 6 stitches for the steek. So I cast that back on, and then on the next row, you just knit those around a part of the steek. And then you'll just zoop, and that'll open up for your collar. Hopefully. I've done it before, but it's been a while. So, and then here's the back. I know right now this does not look like it's going to fit on my body, which makes me very nervous, but things do block out, and it does stretch quite a bit. So, I think it'll be fine. Plus we've got cardigan fronts, and it's a cardigan, so it's got a little bit of negative ease. That's A-okay with me. But, so, oh, and this is Quince & Company Finch in Carrie's yellow, which is such an odd color, but I still like it. It is kind of like a dirty yellow. I mean, that sounds bad, but I think it's good. Because it's got the fun of yellow, but without that, like, so easy to either go pastel yellow, which I don't want, or bright yellow, which I also don't want in a garment. So it's a nice in-between place. Another really nice yellow that I saw at Hoosier Hills Fiber Festival was Linneman Fiber Arts in their, is it called like Antique Sleigh? I think that's what it is. That's another really nice yellow. And it's a much clearer yellow than this. It's not at all, I wouldn't even say it's remotely the same, but it's a nice middle yellow where, again, it doesn't feel real brassy and bright. It's buttery, but without being pastel. It's a nice yellow. It's hard to find a nice yellow. I feel like that's one of the reasons I kind of, I'm a little hesitant about yellow in general. For one thing, it's not the most flattering to my skin, I don't think, but mostly it's because it's hard to find a good one. It's, again, it's like a very fine line. Like a green, pretty much any green is fine. Every once in a while it gets a little bit too purpley weird or something, but really generally blue, can't go too wrong. But yellow, it's difficult. So anyway, so there's that. I'm going to steek. I wanted to show it to you before I steeked it because it is this strange, weird shape. And so I thought you might enjoy that. So, either way, I should video myself steeking. I mean, I know there's a million videos out there of people steeking stuff, and like, but sometimes people just like to see, again, a familiar face to it. So I will do that, and I will try to do that if I don't get too impatient. So again, that's the Ishnana by Ysolda Teague. Okay? And then 2 things you haven't seen before. I am still working on my Buccaneer shawl, but I don't have a ton of progress, so I won't show that to you. Oh, and I forgot to write down the author of this pattern. I have also started or cast on a pair of Mercury Socks. So that's a free pattern on Ravelry. And this is on the round in her signature sock base, which I really like. It kind of is reminiscent to like a Corriedale nylon base. It's not listed as Corriedale, but it has that kind of like slightly, it's a little bit less toothy, I guess, really, than the Corriedale nylon. But it still has a little bit of grab to it. It's nice and lightweight. And I really like it. So here it is in the bowl. And I think I have in the past cast on another pair of socks out of this. Well, I know I have, but I'm not sure if I showed them to you. And I can't remember what colorway this is, sorry. But again, that's on the round, and she does a great job. And again, I really like this base. So, Mercury Socks. I'm knitting those on double points. I like Carbon's double points for socks quite a bit. This pattern is just yarn overs, slip knits, and knit 2 togethers. And the slip knits are a little bit, well, the decreased stitches can be a little bit funky on the Carbons because they don't have a real sharp point. But when I finished my Afterthought heel socks, I was knitting them on ChowGoo double zeros, which again I highly recommend if you need a double zero. The ChowGoo double zeros are super great, but they're so pointy that they have a tendency to poke up underneath my fingernails. And so I really do enjoy that the carbons don't do that. So it's a trade-off, right? Like, I'm not worried about getting that needle. It's not like it's terrible, but when you do it 3 or 4 times, it gets bad. So, but the trade-off is then it's harder to do decrease stitches. Those are the things I needed to say, right? Right, totally. So then the next thing I'm knitting, I felt one day all I could do, well, not a whole day, but one afternoon, all I could do was take out yarn and make Steve & West shawl combinations. So I allowed myself to do that. So I decided to cast on a Vertices Unite. And this pattern is available in 2 sizes. This is the smaller of the 2 sizes. They're exactly the same proportion-wise and everything. It's just the other one is larger. So that's the larger one. And so it is 5 colors. If you're doing the smaller one, you only need 50, I think you only need 50 grams of each color. I don't think any of them, yeah. 50 grams of each color would totally do you. Because the most you need of any one color is 150 yards if you're doing the smaller version. If you're doing the larger version, you do need a full skein because one of the yardages is 310 or 320. So, but you wouldn't actually, you could do it with scraps and do more than 5 colors because of that first picture I showed you. This is the only one that's solid. Or not true. There's other solid pieces, but they're very small. This is only a big solid chunk. And then, you know, you might use, let's see, so this section is A and B, and then you could use B over here. Well, if you don't have enough of B to do this full triangle, you could just use a different color. You wouldn't be locked into doing just 5. There are, in fact, 6 sections. And some of them are striped. 3 of them are striped, and 3 of them are solid. So you could play with, you know, whatever scraps you needed to. And, of course, you could make the solid one striped. Steve & West show. So I decided on, I have another skein of On the Round, and it's in the aquaponic, I wrote it down, aquaponic colorway, which I really love. It's got just a light overall kind of, not quite mint, but very sort of, maybe Ben and Jerry's mint ice cream, where it's just a little, it's not really green at all, just a little creamy green, with some fun brassy oxidized bits in it and some aqua tones as well. So there's that. There's a Madelinetosh Tosh Merino Light in Esoteric. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to use this color or a different one, but right now Tosh Merino Light in Shire, a Linneman Fiber Arts in their Soliloquy base in Dirty Truce, and then Hello Kitten Lamby Toes in the Changeling colorway. So those are my colors. So it's just like oceany and watery. It's not really even oceany. It's more like pondy. It's like freshwater lakey. I know that better than the ocean. And I am just going to do the small version. I have several large shawls that I've done recently. And I feel like I just wanted to play with the color, to play with some texture. Because again, I wanted to make sure I included some different textures. You know, this yarn is much lighter with, again, the single ply of the Tosh Merino Light silkiness with some other merinos. I might switch in a hand spun for this Shire colorway. It's just a little bit brighter, so I wasn't sure. But it's made with hobbledehoy singles, so that would be nice. And that would also get me a hand spun in there to use up. So I used to be a stickler about making sure, or feeling like I needed to use every bit of a skein of yarn. Like I would not choose a pattern if I knew it was not going to take up the majority of the yarn I had in that color. So, like if a pattern came out that only needed 150 yards of one color, but 300 of another, 400 of another, I really did not want to use a full skein for that 150 yards. Now, not that I never did, but it was against my moral fiber to do so. But I'm trying to let go of that because I just don't need a big shawl. Like, I don't want another big shawl. I just want like another little fun. It's just fun. It's like a nice thing of color to play with. It's just a pleasant knitting experience. I don't have to use up every gram of yarn. I can put it on a free table somewhere and somebody else will appreciate it. Or I can just package it up as a kit for you. And you can make one too. We'll be besties. Okay? We'll send psychic powers across the realms to each other. We're wearing our matching Stephen West shawls. It'll be a thing. It's totally a thing. Come on, like, these are totally like the line. Like, what are those called? The ley lines? The guy lines? What are those called? It's not a guy line. That's what you tie a tent down with. But they're like spiritual lines of energy alignment. It's totally a thing. It's gonna happen. That's right. Although I will say, I really love... I didn't actually even show you what I have, do I? I just showed you the colors. That's what's the most exciting part. So here's what I have so far. So just a nice little start to it. But like, I totally dig the wrong side. Right. Wrong. Loving you's wrong. I don't want to be right. But isn't it nice on the wrong side? I can't actually flip it and make this the right size because this, it won't work to flip it, but I might try to make both sides nice. Because I really love this wrong side. So anyway, so there's that. Bow. And also, I don't think I would want that much contrast in a bigger shawl, which is kind of silly, but whatever. It is what it is. But anyway, so I've decided to make the smaller one. For some reason, that feels like some small victory in a way. I think it's just a victory over myself, which are the biggest victories. Anyway, so I think that's all. Oh my gosh, right, y'all? Yeah. Until you look at the time. And this podcast is going to be 10 minutes long, and I'll be like, what? but feels like I've worked all day. It tricks you, the podcasting. It really does. My partner, who does like a very physical job, and he's outside all day, and he's really just working very hard. I'll come home and he's exhausted, and I'm just like last night I was like, I am so tired. And he was like, I mean, he wasn't dismissive or challenging me or anything, but I knew he was like, from what? It's so difficult to sit in this air-conditioned house and sew all day. Go to the grocery store. What else did I have to do? Oh, I had to go pick up my sewing machine from the repairman. Anyway, like, I know he was just like... But I've worked a very physical job. When I was a baker, I was an artisan baker in a bread shop. So it wasn't like I was... Not that decorating cakes is not physically hard, because I'm sure it is. But it's a lot of weight. Moving a lot of weight around when you are a bread baker. Like, you're lifting 500-pound pails of dough with a friend. You're unloading thousands of pounds of bread out of an oven with mechanical assistance. But still, it's a very physically demanding job. And very hot. Oh my gosh, it would be so hot. In front of that hearth, it would just be so hot in the summertime. Anyway, so it's a very physically demanding job. But boy, I get home, I'd sit down for 20 minutes and I'd be ready to go again. There was something very clean about that job. Like, you had, and not that it wasn't stressful, because it was stressful. It was a very stressful job. Probably because I am who I am, and like, I just love stress. It was a very stressful job mentally, and emotionally sometimes. But I would come home and like sit down and literally like have dinner, sit down and feel fine again. Whereas every time I've worked a desk job, now this job's different because at least I have the ability to get up and down. So I'm not comparing this to my old desk jobs. But boy, doing a desk job, you're done at the end of the day, you're exhausted, and you're never not exhausted. Like, there's no recovery. Like, oh, okay, now I'm good to go again. No. Endless exhaustion. So at least it's not like that, but comparable again. Sitting in my temperature-controlled home, largely sitting on my butt. I'm sure he's like, why are you tired? I've literally, he weighed himself at the beginning and the end of the day. And he's like, I lost 5 pounds a day. And I'm like, he does not have 5 pounds to lose. So like, I'm sure he's just like, what alien world are you from? But whatever, I was legit exhausted. Where was I going with that? I don't even know. Y'all. Oh, me thinking this podcast took 75 hours and I'll be toast for the rest of the day. I would like highly structure my podcast days to get anything done afterwards. Like I have to have a deadline in place. Or I'm just going to be like, all right, guys. Boy, I'm not going to hope you have a great week, but I'm going to hope you make it through. I hope I make it through too. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.